Two men have already split a series that was supposed to end at WrestleMania, and now WWE is locking them inside a cage of chain-link steel because there was no other way to finish it. This is not a preview. This is the closing chapter of the best story WWE has told all year, and I need you to understand exactly how we got here before I tell you what I think happens. Let's start with the record, because the record is the whole reason this match exists. Oba Femi beat Brock Lesnar clean at WrestleMania 42. Not a fluke, not a screwjob finish, a real pinfall win over a man who has main-evented WrestleManias and held the WWE Championship more times than most rosters combined. Lesnar was so rattled by that loss that he pulled off his boots and his gloves and left them in the middle of the ring, the classic wrestling signal for "I'm done." Fans bought it. I bought it, honestly, because Lesnar has flirted with retirement before, and this felt different, felt final. Then he came back and speared that narrative into the dirt. He jumped Femi on Raw with zero warning, laid him out, and forced a rematch at Clash in Italy, where he pinned Femi to even the series at 1 apiece. So now you've got two guys with 1 win each, 1 legitimate grudge, and nowhere left to go but Hell in a Cell at SummerSlam. Femi, who WWE has literally been building as King of the Ring 2026 champion and the next great big man on the roster, wants to close the book on Lesnar for good. Lesnar wants the same thing done to Femi. Somebody's story ends inside that cell, and it's happening in Lesnar's adopted home state, at US Bank Stadium, in front of a Minneapolis crowd that has watched him fight there for over a decade. Now let's go behind the curtain, because the placement of this match and the way WWE built it tells you everything about how much creative trust Lesnar still commands backstage. Triple H doesn't hand a part-timer a hometown stipulation match on the SummerSlam card unless he believes it can carry weight. He personally stood in the ring on Raw to oversee the way in between Lesnar and Femi before the match was finalized, which is not a small detail. That's Triple H putting his own credibility behind the idea that this rivalry is worth that kind of spotlight. And think about who Femi's manager and mouthpiece situation looks like on the other side of the aisle. Paul Heyman, the advocate who has shaped Lesnar's entire aura for over a decade, has been directly threatened by Femi in recent weeks, not just Lesnar himself. When a rising star starts calling out the advocate, and not just the attraction, that's a sign the company is positioning him as a threat to the entire operation, not just to one man's win column. There's also the matter of trust in Lesnar's dwindling number of dates. He works a handful of matches a year now, and every one of them is chosen with enormous care by the people who write his creative. Giving him a third match against a wrestler who debuted on the main roster this same year, in a stipulation this brutal, says WWE believes Femi is worth spending one of Lesnar's precious remaining bookings on. That is not something creative does lightly. Let's talk about who these two men actually are, because the depth of Femi's resume gets lost in how new he feels to a lot of viewers. He wasn't a lifelong wrestling kid. He was a shot put and track and field athlete at Middle Tennessee State, and then the University of Alabama in the SEC, before WWE signed him through its NIL program back in 2021. He trained under Matt Bloom at the Performance Center, with Ivar mentoring him in the ring and Shawn Michaels overseeing his entire NXT development. That foundation produced results fast. He won the 2023 NXT Men's Breakout Tournament, cashed in the contract to dethrone Dragon Lee for the NXT North American Championship, and then just refused to lose. He ran that title for a record 273 days, the longest reign in the championship's history, and became both the youngest champion and the first African-born wrestler to hold it. When he finally dropped the belt to Tony D'Angelo, it snapped a 30-match winning streak. He didn't slow down. He won the 2024 Men's Iron Survivor Challenge, captured the NXT Championship outright by beating Trick Williams and Eddie Thorpe, lost it, and then took it back at NXT Deadline in December 2025. By the time he stepped into the ring with Lesnar at WrestleMania, he wasn't some green call-up. He was a proven champion with a resume most NXT stars never build in twice the time. Lesnar, on the other hand, doesn't need the introduction. Former WWE champion across multiple reigns, former UFC heavyweight champion, one of the only men to hold major titles in both promotions, the man who ended The Undertaker's WrestleMania streak, and a 2-time winner inside Hell in a Cell against that very same Undertaker. That last part matters more than anything else heading into this match, because it means Femi is stepping into a structure Lesnar has already conquered twice against the most dangerous cell performer the business has ever produced, and Femi has never fought inside one at all. So what does this rivalry actually mean for where these two sit on the roster right now? And I want to be careful here because I'm not going to throw out made-up numbers just to sound authoritative. What I can tell you, based on how WWE has actually booked this, is unmistakable. You do not give a first-year main roster talent a clean pinfall win over Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania unless the company has decided he's a foundational piece of the next few years. WWE doesn't burn Lesnar's aura like that on a whim. Then you don't follow it with a rubber match at a premium live event overseas and then a hometown Hell in a Cell blow-off at SummerSlam, unless both guys are drawing enough interest to justify 3 separate bookings in a single calendar year. Femi capturing King of the Ring in 2026 on top of all this tells you WWE sees him as a genuine centerpiece, not a stepping stone. He's not just feuding with Lesnar, he's being built through Lesnar, using one of the most credible legacy stars in company history to certify him as the real thing. Lesnar, for his part, still commands a level of attention that very few remaining performers can generate simply by showing up. Whatever the specific business numbers end up being for this match, the booking pattern alone tells the story. This is WWE spending its most valuable asset to mint a new one. So where does this go, and how does it actually end? I think Femi wins, and I think he wins clean. Not a fluke, not a screw job, not a run-in. I think he out-toughs Lesnar inside that cell, absorbs whatever brutality Lesnar throws at him with those German suplexes and that F5, and finds a way to put him away in his own building, in his own home state, in front of his own fans. That's the story WWE has been building since WrestleMania. Femi conquering Lesnar once could be written off as a fluke. Conquering him twice, with the second win coming inside the most unforgiving structure in the sport, cements him as a legitimate main event force heading into the fall. And I do think this could genuinely be the moment Lesnar walks away for real this time. Not with gloves left dramatically in the ring, but with a graceful exit line as a performer who put over the next generation on his way out. That said, I don't think WWE is fully done with Lesnar, even if he loses here. There's too much value left in that aura to shelve him completely, and companies rarely let a money player disappear entirely, even after a retirement angle. Maybe he shows up as a surprise factor in a later Royal Rumble. Maybe he resurfaces to cost Femi a title down the line and set up a 4th chapter nobody's asking for yet. But for SummerSlam itself, I'm going with Femi. He's been built too carefully for too long to lose the match that's supposed to certify him. Tell me in the comments if you agree, or if you think Lesnar has one more trick left in that cage, because I genuinely think this is the closest call on the entire card.